I think we are talking in a different land, which is, would a reasonable member of Congress feel grossly misled by what the Attorney General said? And I think the answer to that is yes. And the Attorney General sitting on a letter that the special counsel had written, expressing frustration with the way he had characterized it and the way that had spurred a media storm, asked a question about, what can you tell us about frustration, kind of scratches his head and plays dumb. And I do think people are going to feel misled by that.
Well, misled also, it certainly, could that not be considered an abuse of power if you use your position to, quote, undermine the central purpose for which the Justice Department appointed the special counsel?
Look, Bill Barr has, I think, abused his position in a number of respects, and the most important of them is exactly the one that you just described, which is taking a document, and there is nothing technically inaccurate in Bill Barr's letter, but taking a document that is rich and complicated and conveys a great deal of information and characterizing it intentionally in such a way that an entire media ecosystem can go nuts for 2 weeks about how it is a simple vindication and clearing of the president, which it was quite obviously not. And I think the fact that we reacted that way at the time, you and I and 100 million other people, it is not surprising that internally within the Justice Department and the special counsel's office, Bob Mueller, who knew that report intimately because he wrote it, reacted quite similarly.
Well, it's so funny to listen to pathetic Trump apologists trying to blame this on the media, as a lot of them did last night, when, of course, it was the President of the United States that was jumping up and down, screaming with the largest megaphone, using Attorney General Barr's letter to misrepresent the contents of the report, which of course the media would then have to pick up on that as well. But Mike,
and Barr himself, used his own letter to mischaracterize the report, because in his press conference the morning of the report's release, he adopted a series of lines about the report that were directly tailored to the way the president was talking about it. He used the phrase "no collusion" multiple times. And so it's not simply that the president was mischaracterizing or was using his characterization to misdescribe what was in this complicated document. He himself, on more than one occasion, was again, without saying anything that was technically inaccurate, grossly mischaracterizing the document.
Mike Barnicle grossly mischaracterized the document. To borrow a phrase from former Chief Justice William Rehnquist, wretched Mueller's words from their proper context. After that, held a highly misleading and politicized press conference. After that, testified before the Senate and the House, grossly misled United States senators, and outright lied to Charlie Crist and the House of Representatives.
Yeah, Joe,
that, under any circumstance, is an abuse of power. And all the king's horses and all the king's men and all the hacks on the right, on the new Trump right, can't put that mess back together. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. He pushed himself off the wall himself, and his reputation lies in 1,000 pieces. He abused his official power.
Yeah, Joe, and in this case, Humpty Dumpty had a partner in crime, it appears, Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. And Michael Schmidt, I would like to ask you the following question. It appears from your reporting and from the Washington Post reporting that the sitting Attorney General of the United States, the Deputy Attorney General of the United States have, at a minimum, twisted the truth about a critical report worked on for 2 years by Bob Mueller and several other people who worked for Bob Mueller. And now, Bob Mueller, having laid out 10 separate instances of potential obstruction of justice, the sitting Attorney General of the United States said what he said. So the bottom line here is the Justice Department, again, from your reporting, indicates that they were somewhat miffed, angered, frustrated by Bob Mueller's letter. What would possibly frustrate them about the truth?
Well, I mean, here's the fundamental problem. A special counsel was appointed to protect the investigation from the appearance of politics and from politics seeping into their work. And here we are 2 years after that happened, and the entire decision has been exposed to politics. Part of that is based on the fact that Mueller decided not to make a decision about whether the president broke the law. He sort of said that someone could make that call after the president leaves office. That allowed Barr to come in and make the decision and expose the final product to the winds of politics. And as we look at that now, this thing that everyone talked about for the past 2 years, about how, Mueller was there to protect her and everything, the result of it is looked at completely in a political context. And that was not the goal from the beginning. That is not why you have a special counsel. You have a special counsel to try and prevent this from happening. And now we're going to spend the next 2 years talking about how the president's political appointees were the ones that made the ultimate decision about whether the president was charged. And that's just not how the system was supposed to work.
But Mike, to follow up on what you said about Rod Rosenstein, this is a guy who blasted critics of Bob Barr's letter and said that it was bizarre. Said it was bizarre that anyone would even question whether the letter was misleading. Rod Rosenstein, the guy who acted weaselly when Donald Trump ordered him to write a letter justifying Comey's firing, and then broke down in tears after the media started attacking him. That Rod Rosenstein, he knew that the special counsel, he knew that Robert Mueller had said the very things that he was telling the press and the public he thought were, quote, bizarre.
Joe, this all adds up to something I'm sure you and many other lawyers, when you were practicing law, as lawyers practice law every day in municipal courts around this country, this adds up to a common phrase heard over and over and over again, unfortunately: bag job.
Yeah. It was a bag job. And Mika, the most shocking thing is, I can tell you, at least in Pensacola, Florida, you knew not to lie to other lawyers. You knew that when the truth was going to come out, you had to keep your reputation in check, or you'd never be trusted. Your word would never be trusted before a judge again. You would never be able to get a deal on the side with another lawyer on pleadings or on some other question, so you always had to be straight. It's unbelievable how stupid, and what Bush leaguers, Rod Rosenstein, and the Attorney General of the United States have turned out to be. They knew this was coming out.
Right.
Barr was holding Mueller's letter that he was lying about, and he held it in his drawer. He held it in a file for a month, and then went to the Hill and lied to the Senate and lied to the House.
So this is, I want to get to Heidi on exactly the opportunity for Republicans here and whether or not they're going to take it. But Joe, some people are texting me saying that, Joe, President Trump is tweeting like crazy right now. Can you tell your friend that we're not interested?
Hey, Donald.
We're not going to. You could tweet nudes.
Hey,
we don't care.
We used to
We're
be
not
friends,
looking. Not interested.
And listen, I'm
we're going to
sorry
stay focused.
It turned out the way it did.
On this story.
Can't be friends with a guy that wants to be an autocrat.
Stop.
But you can just stop tweeting.
Stop that.
Go eat a ham sandwich. Get some KFC in the morning. I've always found their variety pack, like right before breakfast, is fantastic. Eat your Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
Get a Big Mac. Get an Egg
Okay.
McMuffin, something. McDonald's makes great pancakes. Do that. We're not going to pay attention